Hello everyone, in this video we will learn how to make this pixelated blocky effect in TouchDesigner and also make it audio-reactive. The main visuals, the pixelated blocky effect, is inspired by another tutorial from Interactive Immersive HQ. If you're interested, I've linked their video down below, you can check them out. I add my own twist to it by adding my own videos and some other textures. I also make it audio-reactive. Let's first look at the final effects. Now let's break down the network. I have three main parts. The first part is the audio. I'm using the high and the low to drive the visuals. Majority of the time, I either use high and low or kick and snare, and that's already enough. I map to different range to drive the visuals. And then for the main visual part, like I mentioned, this is inspired by another tutorial. Basically, you take a noise and you do some post-processing and make it pixelated and feed it into a feedback loop, add a bloom to it, and then compose together to make a trail out of the moving boxes. And so you get this pixelated blocky effect, which is really cool. And then I just add some layout to it to make it more interesting with our audio. So first, this is the texture from there, and then I add my own texture, which is a video also made in TouchDesigner. And then I connected three of them to a switch using the high to drive the three videos. In the beginning, I tried to add a box here, but then in the end, I didn't like the effect, so I removed it. Just try out different things in your creative process. For this, I just keep it here. And I find that if I removing this part, the visual look less nice. I think it has to do with there are three textures instead of two, even though there's nothing passing by. The important thing here is experiment and try out different things and messing around, having fun, and then you will end up with unexpected results. Then after I switch the visuals, I add a black background to it because it has a transparent texture. And then this is our visual one, the left hand side. And the right hand side, I add another displace to create this more watery dripping effect. I like this one more. They're both cool. So to do that, I use a displace to displace the output and my texture view. This is the parameter I'm using, 0.1. Alright, let's recreate the whole thing from scratch. First, add your audio of choice. In this case, I'm using Krumville from Oneohtrix Point Never, and we're gonna use the high to drive the visuals. So you can do that by using the pre-built component in TouchDesigner, the audio analysis, and connect your song, your audio input to audio analysis, and then using a select to select the high frequency from it. And remember to enable the high and also change the threshold and gain based on your audio inputs and until you find the most suitable range. In my case, I'm just gonna use my own component because I'm using it a lot, and I just put the most used parameters into a component. It works the same as this one, it's just more convenient for me to work with. And you can also download this one in my Patreon for free. So what I would do, I will add a select, and I select the high. In the previous network, you see the high and low, but I only using the high in the end. So we're just gonna use the high now. I didn't change anything of it, and maybe add a null to it and call it drive. Okay, and then for our main visual part, we first need to add a noise, then add a level, a limit, add a boom, then add a constant to set the resolution for our visuals. Let's set 20 and resolution 1, so 1920. And then we're gonna drop the reference to our noise, and then pixel format 32 to bitflow RGBA. Turn off the monochrome. In the seed here, I'm using 0.4 for the period. I think I kept it this way, but feel free to change. This is the parameter I use, but you can use different ones. Then in here, I want to animate noise by type the expression apps seconds divided by 10, so it moving slowly. And then for the level here, we change the black level to 0.6, and the limit, we want to create the pixelated effect. We do that using the quantize inside the limit. We choose floor 0.3, and then quantize position ceiling 0.1. So now we got this pixelated box. Great. And then in the bloom here, change to 0.4 and 1.5 for the pre-gamma. Then here we're using 0.05 and 0.005. And then output, very important, choose bloom only. We're gonna put this texture into a feedback loop. Add a feedback, add a displace. And then we want to use this another bloom as a displace texture. For the bloom here, we also are changing this to 0.45, and this is 0.016, and displace weight to 0.001 for x and y. And now we compose them together, and the original one we add a level, and then changing the opacity to 0.1 and composite on top of the this one. So choose over, and then chop the reference, the final frame, to our feedback, and then you get this trail effect. And then how to understand this feedback loop. The bloom adds a glow effect to our pixelated texture, and this processed image become our first frame entering into this feedback system. And then we use a displace inside this feedback loop. We use bloom 2 to displace bloom 1. This is actually the same. You can consider just this one go inside of this displace. These two blooms are slightly different in the parameters, which after the displace create this slightly wrapped and distorted effect. Then we use the level to grab a tiny bit of bloom 1 and then composite with the distorted texture, and this composite result becomes our last frame, which fits back and back again to our first frame, which is this one, and then creating this pixelated trail effect. And then we just go ahead to add more layout dynamic to it. I will just grab our texture here and then add this one to a null, and then add a fit, and using the same resolution to the resolution here, and then in here we choose it vertical, and then we add a switch, connect the first texture and the background. Also add this one to a transform, and I think I scale it down to something, and then add to the switch as well, but in the end I pass by this, and then connect the switch to a null and open the viewer, view active, and using the high to drive the switch. So we're gonna grab our high here to drive the switch, and then I just multiply by 4. And then for the next one, we add an displace again. Also, let's play some music because I can hear it corresponding to the audio device out. We should add this in the very beginning, but I forgot. We also gonna use the high to drive some other parameters. I use it in the noise here. In the noise here, we're gonna add on top of it select 3, drive, high, and then also use the high to change the bloom here. I'm gonna use 0.5 to 5 minus high. divided by 3. And then turn on blend between inputs. And then finally we'll add another displace. And we're gonna add this one in our first, and then this one as our second, and add another. Now view active, we add a RGB key to add a background to it. For the displace here we're using 0.1 and 0.1 actually, yeah, to create this watery effect. Also in the displays here I use the mirror. I think that's basically everything. You need to change the height based on the song. I'm just simply multiply by 4 in this case, where I think it looks nice. That's basically it. To wrap up, I use the audio to drive the changing of the noise. I also use the high here to drive the pre-back level, so basically determines our bloom, how bright and how dark it is, and then use it again to switch the 3 textures to create this effect. Yeah, that's about it. Hope you find it useful, and if you want the textures or the whole AudioReactive project file, you can join my Patreon and become a member, and let me know if you have questions, and see you next time.